Welcome, chooms, to the Pixel Play Podcast, your weekly podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the video game world. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. In this week's episode, Kaylan is hyped up. We've got some news on video games that I am excited about. Cyberpunk 2077 lives, my friends, with an all-new live update patch. Nintendo comes out swinging with an awesome direct, and Microsoft confirms that they are going to play nice with Sony with their acquisition of Activision and Blizzard. If you like what you hear, you can always catch us wherever you get your podcast by searching for Pixel Play Podcast, or on YouTube by searching for Pixel Play Podcast. We are on social media as well. If you want to find us on Twitter or Instagram, Pixel Play Cast, and you can always email us at pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. Adam, let's just jump right into it. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
There's a little bit
of
the
energy. You feeling the energy, buddy?
Not for Cyberpunk. For a couple days from now, when it's Horizon. I don't know what you're getting so interested in.
Oh my god, I am so excited. I have actually taken a day off work just to like forget all responsibilities. I'm sending the kid to daycare. I am taking the day off work, and I am just playing Horizon for the whole Friday.
Yeah, I'm taking the day off work too. It's called Family Day on Monday.
Well, the problem is I actually have to spend time with. I have a family I have to spend time with.
I mean, I have one too. I just neglect them.
No, but the difference is I have a family that depends on me, so I don't get to play it on Monday all day. It's a dependent family member that's an issue. So.
Okay, well that's your first mistake. You became a dependent family member. You got to be like me and just never show up to anything.
He's gonna have at some point my son's gonna listen to these podcasts and be like, "Wait, what?" So he's gonna be surprised.
Why are you forcing your son to listen to such torturous ideology here?
Well, I think it's this is the idea, back when we were kids and stuff, it was always oh yeah, your dad would come out and be like, I was in a band once. Basically to be like that with podcasts. It's gonna be I was in a podcast once. And Dad, nobody cares.
Yeah, if I ever had a child, I'm certainly not showing them my one rock band's music, because it's not great.
You had a rock band?
I did.
Oh man, what were they called?
Oh, I was a punk rocker. Our band was called Inept Inc., and I have no idea why we called it that. That's how long ago it was.
Is there evidence on YouTube? Oh, we're gonna find it right now. Let's see.
That is a wonderful question. I have no idea anymore.
Did you do actual shows and stuff?
We did 2 shows. I guarantee you won't find it now. I don't even know if anybody has recordings of what we did still at any point. So it might be one of those things lost in the annals of history. Thankfully.
If we can get this episode up to 100 views, would you get us some of the audio?
I don't have the audio.
So you have no memory of this band at all?
No. I know what we, I know what
you
we
have
did.
Nothing to
I just have no recording anywhere.
You guys are a terrible band. I understand why it didn't take off, because you had no recordings.
We were also in high school.
I think if you had probably recorded something, it might have come across, so you might have gotten somewhere. But
I don't know. Maybe if I dig through Facebook or something, maybe I'd find it. But that seems like a lot of work for a joke that may never see the light of day.
I think you should find it. Adam, I am all pumped this week. This week has been awesome. I am so excited about Horizon Forbidden West coming out. Did you see the new Lego set that they announced today?
I had no idea. I've seen the Sonic Lego set that's been getting bounced around, but I did not know there was a Horizon one.
Dude, they're coming out with I think they're called tall necks. They're coming out with a tall neck Lego set. Oh,
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I'm not a Lego guy, but it makes 100% sense to me.
You put my favorite hobbies in Lego, and I'm gonna buy it. I got the Millennium Falcon back there, got the X-Wing right there, and I got Kylo Ren's, I think it's TIE Vanquisher right there. I'm a huge sucker for it. So.
No one can see almost most of that.
Well, thank you, because I forgot you cropped me out.
Well, they can see the Falcon kind of over your shoulder. That's about it.
And to be fair, most people are listening to the audio version. So if you're listening to the audio, check us out on YouTube. You can see my Lego set. And then I'm also excited today. CD Projekt Red came out with a press conference and basically said, hey, that game that we made a little while ago that nobody liked? Yeah, well, we're fixing it. And they did. So let's jump into this. I don't have a news article because I did the research myself. So I have notes. So this comes from Kaylan at Pixel Play Podcast. So yeah, CD Projekt Red today did a conference to kind of talk about the changes and upgrades that they did in what they're calling Update 1.5. So this is actually live now. It's already been updated. If you have Cyberpunk 2077, you already have the update, and they also announced that they're coming up with the next gen launch. So if you have a copy of Cyberpunk 2077 for PS4 or Xbox One, you can get an upgrade to Series X, S, or PS5. In terms of the refreshes that they made with this new launch, yeah, there's a whole bunch there. So they mentioned they have new perks, and then when you go into the game, you could refresh them. So they've readjusted the entire perk system so that it is more useful. So like they had some perks that really didn't do much, like going underwater, like resets, like people being able to find you, and like nobody went underwater, so it didn't matter. So now when you go in, you can reset all your perks, and they have a whole bunch of new perks to kind of make them cooler. They have stuff like throwing knives, so you can now get throwing knives and do that. I went in and checked it out. It was really cool. The driving of the game has been drastically fixed, and you can now do like drifting and kind of that stuff, so you can do burnouts. The controls just generally for the driving is much better than what it was before. One cool thing is now with fixers, when you do missions for them, you slowly build this reputation with them, and you get better rewards for doing jobs. So for previously, when you had a fixer, they would just kind of like dump all the missions on you, or you could just do them simultaneously one after the other. They just kind of, it was just a list of jobs. It really had no pertinence to it. Now, when you do jobs for fixers, you're sort of building that cred and that reputation with them, and then they give you more jobs and better jobs, and those jobs have better rewards. And then once you finish it, you get like huge rewards at the end. Yeah, and XP has been improved, so you're gonna get better XP. More reactive NPCs. So when you start shooting into a crowd, like they'll run away, cars will freak out and start driving away. Some will come and attack you, some will be more reactive. The police still generally just kind of pop in out of nowhere. At least that's what I found. It's better than it was before, but yeah. Like I said, there's new combat in terms of like new weapons, there's new perks to it, and yeah, the weapons and firing is a lot better. And they've balanced the economy more. So one of the problems with Cyberpunk is that it was really hard to get money and to kind of buy things in Cyberpunk. You were really cautious in what you spent. And so, they came that this stuff is now cheaper and you get money faster. So now it's easier for you to buy and upgrade things. Speaking of buying things, they've also come up with a bunch of new DLC for the game. So there is now an option that you can customize your apartments, and you can also buy new apartments. So if you want to be a corpo and you want a more corpo looking apartment, you can buy one of those. It's the most expensive one. Or you could buy one in, I think it's Japantown. I think that's what it's called. Or just, there's like 3 or 4 different ones that you can choose from. Or you can customize the one that you currently have. Similarly, you can now do character customization as well from the apartment. So if you want to change the look of your character, you can do that now. Yeah. So they've done a lot of improvements, and I think this shows a commitment that CD Projekt Red has to Cyberpunk. And I think that this is, like I said at the beginning of the year, this is going to be where Cyberpunk starts turning the tide. Like I said, they've provided the upgrade to the next gen console for free if you already have the game. And I think I saw that the game was online on the PlayStation Network for like $30.
Yeah, so it's $29.99 Canadian, $24.99 US, I believe.
Yeah, and they're offering for the next 30 days, they are offering a free 5-hour trial of the game. So you can go in, you can play the first 5 hours, and that is live for the next 30 days. And then if you decide to purchase it, your save gets carried over. But if you're listening to this like relatively early, I would suggest go out and buy a copy of Cyberpunk, because it is probably dirt cheap right now, because a lot of people returned it, a lot of people didn't want it, and I think that it's going to start getting popular again. I think more people are going to pick it up, and the price is going to go up. I think we saw something similar to this with like No Man's Sky, where No Man's Sky at one point, I remember seeing that game for like $5. Like people were pretty much giving them away as coasters. And then once they started doing those improvements, that game has now gone up in price again, where it is now, I think like $20 or $30 to buy No Man's Sky. So yeah, I definitely think this is a game. I've been singing this game's praises for, months. And I think a lot of people now are going to jump in, and they're going to kind of see the game is not perfect. The game is not flawless. It does not feel 100% next gen. It feels like one of those like halfway kind of next gen games. Similar to, like, I would say it kind of feels like a Guardians of the Galaxy level, where it's like it doesn't make it feel next gen, but it is definitely a huge life improvement. Adam, is this enough to make you kind of jump in and try Cyberpunk?
I mean, I don't have to worry about it. My console share friend already bought it, and it's currently downloading as we speak. So
nice.
At some point, it's going to happen. And I said it from the very beginning that when this game is at least given its next gen upgrade, which means it's probably been fixed a little bit better, I'm going to look at it because I wanted to play it day one. So clearly the interest was there. It was just a matter of, okay, can it not be a broken mess? Now, does this mean that it won't be a broken mess still? Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm waiting to see what Digital Foundry has to say about it. When they really go through all the tech and see just what specifically is running, how the frame rate's doing, if there's any like pop-in bugs, if there's any real glitches they keep coming across. Because you watch the original video when the game first came out, they slammed the hell out of it, and it was rightly deserved. Mm-hmm. So if it ends up being, a really great improvement, they will say that. And if it ends up being like a passable improvement, they won't pull any punches. They'll say that, hey, there's still a lot to be fixed. So regardless, I'll probably end up playing it at some point. It's going to have to wait till Horizon's done, though, unfortunately. But, I mean, it's always been there that I wanted to play this game. It's just a matter now of, is it ready or is it still a couple of steps away? And that's something I'm more than okay with being patient and seeing because, like I said, there's already something else in a couple of days that's going to take my time anyway. And I've already waited as long as I have since the game's initial launch for this point anyway, so what's another month? So it's not a big deal. Like, I'm still looking forward to it. I really want to finally dig my claws into this open world, go through, just go nuts and shoot and swing my sword left and right. Apparently now there's an apartment in Japantown, like you said, so I can go be a weeb over there.
Oh, 100%.
So like everything that I hope to get out of this game is still possibly there. It took a lot longer than I think we all expected it to. It's just a matter of, okay, well, did they actually put in the work this time? Because I gotta say, I feel bad for the people actually working on this game, not the people in the offices, not the corpo guys there at CD Projekt Red, because it's their fucking fault that this happened. But the people that, busted their ass trying to get this game out the door initially and have been busting their ass to try to make it workable now, I feel horrible because not only did CD Projekt Red just throw this game out into the ether like it was yesterday's garbage, it's got a massive discount on it. It's got a 5-hour trial. It is begging. We're so sorry. Please play this. It really worries me that it's showing that they know how badly they screwed up and they're trying to alleviate it. And I guess to be completely honest, it feels kind of shitty that you've probably overworked your staff even more getting this thing fixed and ready for next gen, and you're charging already super low amounts early, which, I mean, you should, but still, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, you almost just want this game to finish and then just die its quiet death so we can stop talking about it and move on to the next thing, because it's a negative story that just doesn't seem to go away. And that's not just because we keep bringing it back in joking fashion on the show almost every week.
Well, you do. I've been the evangelical for this one.
Yes, yes, I know. So sorry, I've been joking about it almost every week.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say this question for after a second. But do you think the timing of this was smart?
No.
My concern
Horizon is literally about to come out. This screams to me, we're going to give this away quickly. We're going to give it away cheaply. We're going to just try to get as much as we can back out of this. And it's going to get buried because everybody's going to be talking about Horizon or whatever else is happening in the next month. It's not good to me. The timing.
And I agree. I don't think that they're trying to bury it. I think they're very proud and they are trying to make this into a franchise, which I want them to. I love this. I love this environment. But this was your second chance. This was your opportunity to come out and say, look, hey, we sent a bad game out. We screwed up. We're trying to make amends. Here's the demo. Here's all this. And you're doing it around the time that two of the hottest games of 2022 are coming out. You have Elden Ring coming out imminently, and you have Horizon coming out imminently. What are you doing? Those are two big demographics that, you're going up against. And yeah, your game it's old. And I'm not trying to say but we're in an iterative industry, and I know you have to get it out as soon as possible, but you're coming out in one of the busiest months in what is generally a quiet year. If you had come out in March or April, it would have been a time where people are kind of past Horizon, they're kind of done with Elden Ring, and you would have had an opportunity to kind of have your moment again where everyone would be like, hey, here's Cyberpunk, let's get it out. I know that you have this instance where you want to get it out as soon as possible, but I don't know if now is the time.
And not to mention, like, the initial announcement of a stream came out of nowhere, and it leaked. So it's like, you didn't even do the moment the way you intended it to, unless the leak was your intention. I don't know. Half the time now, you can never tell what's intended and what isn't. But, you know, you're like, if the thinking is, you know, we're it's Cyberpunk, we're really proud of this, and we're going to throw right in this moment because we know it's worthy of that. I'm sorry to tell you, CD Projekt Red, you already fucked it up once. It's not the same luster anymore. It's gone. Your product is literally the bastard child that everybody made fun of incessantly in school at recess every single day and never picked them for dodgeball. They didn't get picked last. They didn't get picked. So,
are we still talking about CD Projekt Red?
Yes, maybe.
Okay,
I'm not sure anymore. But like, what are you guys doing? There's a million other times you could have done this. Like, let's say they had this thing finished 2 weeks ago. Like they were like, okay, this is officially ready. Let's push it out. I want to figure it's even way beyond that, but I'll give them some, you know, rope to hang themselves with. If it was done 2 weeks ago, push it to fucking March or April, because there's probably many other things you can do. And if this thing was done like before the year even started, or like really early into January, you should have just pushed it out in January when there wasn't much going on. Because now that everybody's like, especially after Digital Foundry put out their big video on how the Horizon's tech is game changing for this next gen, all the hype is on Horizon now. CD Projekt Red just came in, dropped Cyberpunk on everybody, and we're all like, okay. And like that's been most of the reactions. Most of the reactions I've seen from people online is that of indifference. And that's kind of the problem when the game has had its tumultuous launch and then pretty much its tumultuous journey up until this point.
Unless the counterpoint to this, and this is going to lead into my next question, what if this is like a slow burn strategy for them? Like, they put it out there, you're going to have a couple people, like, it's going to slowly build that word of mouth that, hey, Cyberpunk is fixed. And by the time, you know, March, April rolls around, people are going to be looking for a game and be like, hey, let's check out Cyberpunk. You've lost that excitement. But at that point, 30-day, you know, demo's gone. The price has probably gone up again. So right now they have a benefit where it's like, hey, yeah, we do have the goodwill. We've put that demo out, but no one's going to play it. And then everyone's going to be playing Elden Ring and Horizon, and then we'll come in later on. And then this might lead into a larger discussion of what they're going to do for the DLC, because their idea might be, hey, we're going to launch something in May or June with a full out DLC expansion, similar to what they did with The Witcher. And I'm just speculating here. I have no insider information or anything like that. But like, they do sizable expansion packs that they could say, hey, here is Cyberpunk Trauma Team or something like that. And it's a full, you know, 10, 15-hour game. And that's when people start coming in and start buying the game again. Like, I'm dying to play the DLC for Cyberpunk.
Well, I mean, if the plan is slow burn, CD Projekt Red, you're not Hello Games and No Man's Sky. You're a little bigger than that. The slow burn doesn't exactly work for your company as much as others do. Cyberpunk was supposed to be the big game of the year when it came out. I don't think slow burn is the right way to do it for you guys. I think you really should have just stuck to, you know, the normal method, which is announce that, hey, it's ready to launch March 22nd, like just as a random date I'm throwing in there. It's coming to you guys, all ready to go. And here's some extra stuff we're going to throw in, you know, as our way of saying, hey, you guys that stuck with us, here's some free stuff for you. And you guys that we disappointed initially, here's something for you too. Instead, it was announced yesterday there was going to be a stream, and then we heard what the stream actually was before the stream even happened, and then it was a thing, and now we are talking about it like a fart just went off in church. Like it for a game that we were all as excited as we were about Cyberpunk initially, this feels so wrong given what we thought like 2 years ago going into that launch. It's flabbergasting. And like I said before, it's that tumultuous journey that just keeps on going. It's not stopping. And even if after I play the game, and hopefully for your sake, I end up singing its praises, because I don't know what you're going to do if I hate it.
You've already established your lack of taste in games with your opinions on The Last of Us.
Fair enough. But like, I can't imagine how it's going to go if the general consensus to this version of the game is still negative, And now they go into the big DLC thing, and everybody's like, well, maybe this will fix it. And then that doesn't end up doing what they do. But it might not even be their fault now, because it might just have that negative connotation going in the door. So that's the other factor. Like, I may walk into Cyberpunk and it actually might be a really good game, but my bias is already screwed up from the launch.
You're looking for the flaws, right?
That's also the thing too. I mean, personally for me, as long as it doesn't look like garbage and doesn't crash within the first hour, it's on a good start. So I'll take that happily. But beyond that, like, I'm at the point that I just want to know if the goddamn story and the gameplay was good. Because I never got to do that because it crashed too bloody much to think it was worth even getting into. Mm-hmm. So I'll start from there, and then we'll see what it's like after, and, you know, like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to finish that game, but let's say, you know, if I start it, you know, that the same week that we do a show, and then we come back next week, I'll at least be able to say, like, hey, it's not a dumpster fire like it once was. And maybe I'll be saying, like, man, this game is so much, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Who knows? Yeah, but at this time,
you're so right. Why didn't I not listen to you?
I mean, at this point, though, I can't help myself but be a little bit, you know, concerned still, because I'm thinking in the back of my mind the disappointment that I had on day one when I was so excited for it.
Yeah, I think this is one that, you know, CDPR can recover from. I think it's definitely it's hurt their reputation, but, like, you know, The Witcher 3, and this is nowhere near comparison because The Witcher 3 came out really well, but, like, The Witcher 3 that we have today and the one that people hold in high regard is drastically different from the one that launched day one. And that there was a lot of patches and a lot of love that came into it that people in 2021, 22, even 2020, like, even now, I realized I screwed that up. Like, people sing that game's praises, but that game is different from what it was when it first launched. And I think people, like, will sort of forget to an extent of how bad it was.
Well, and I think like, it depends on, like, the recovery job. Like, No Man's Sky, not very many people talk about the original launch anymore because they've done so much to change that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like I said, we're still in that infancy phase where, you know, once people get their hands on this new version of Cyberpunk, maybe we'll see that change in a year, maybe 2 years. Like, hard to tell. But I think in the comparison to Witcher 3, I think these are two completely different things. Like, similar like journeys, but the scope is so much different.
Yeah, Cyberpunk is starting 500 meters back from the starting line. You know, it can catch up and it has time to catch up, but it'll take time.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a longer journey, and it may never get to the point that Witcher 3 is anyway, even if the quality is just as good, just because the failures that they did in the original launch is just going to give it that ceiling that it can't overcome.
Yeah, they have like a ball and chain attached to their ankle that is going to, you know, stop them from soaring, but
I mean, realistically at this point, their next game is going to be a make or break moment for them because they better make sure this one doesn't fail the same way.
And this is something that, like I said before about CD Projekt Red, is that a lot of people think of CD Projekt Red and think of The Witcher 3, but they made a bunch of games before that, and, like, the games were good, but they weren't, like, earth-shattering like The Witcher 3 was. And so, yeah, you're right. Like, we're gonna have to see, is the next game gonna be something that cements in that, yeah, they are a AAA studio, or is it gonna be making us realize that The Witcher 3 was a bit of a fluke? And I hope it's not. Like, I like CD Projekt.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a guy who couldn't stand Witcher 1 and 2, like, I just couldn't get into them, and then played Witcher 3 on a whim, and it was amazing. So, like, I get it too. And I mean, in similar straits, like, Mass Effect, whenever they finally get that new reboot in, like, to me, that's going to be a similar kind of situation where it's like, okay, BioWare, you did great with the first trilogy. Andromeda was a pile of shit. So fix it. This is your last shot at it, because I don't think I can take two massive failures in a row. So it's going to be similar for CD Projekt Red. Even if Cyberpunk ends up being great when I get around to it, whatever their next project is, if it's a Witcher 4, if it's a Cyberpunk 2, if it's a completely different IP, it's still going to come down to, okay, guys, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because I know you can make good stuff, and I know that you screwed up real bad on this last one. So you better show me that you actually knew what you're doing this time, because if you do this to me again, I have no interest in ever touching your stuff unless I'm specifically told by several people that it's amazing. Because that's what a lot of these companies are now. Like, there are certain games, like, if somebody tells me right now to go play an Assassin's Creed game, And I mean, like, really tell me, like, dude, no, actually, like, legit, the next Assassin's Creed game when it comes out, like, dude, legit. Like, this, they actually fixed a lot with this game. It's amazing again. Like, it reminds you, like, of Black Flag again. I'd be like, all right, fine, I'll take a look at it. But any Assassin's Creed game that ever comes out now, I don't care about anymore. And if CDPR does a similar job with whatever their next project is, that might be a similar situation where it's like, look, unless everybody universally says it's amazing, I don't know if I care now. But at this point...
Speaking of everybody saying, I'll let you finish that sentence before I finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, you know, Cyberpunk, again, may be that improvement, but, you know, the stink still lingers. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of games that people are telling you to play, let's shift gears. Something that people were not upset about this week was the Nintendo Direct from February. So this was... held back. This was last week, I believe, last Wednesday, so a day after our show, so we're a little late on this one. But Nintendo came out swinging with a bunch of games coming out this year. So I thought we could just kind of go through the games. I'll go real quick, and if there's something you want to talk about with one of the games, let me know and we can stop and chat. But I'm just going to quickly fire off these ones, and you tell me if they have interest or if you have something to say. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 announced for September 22. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes features characters from Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Mario Strikers is back with 5v5 soccer action. Did you ever play that one?
No, I never had a GameCube, so I never got the chance to play them.
Yeah, same. It looks awesome. It looks really fun. Like, the Mario sports games are always a good time. So
I wish that those kind of games were actually on consoles everywhere and not just Nintendo, because the fact that most sports games are literally limited to what EA Sports puts out now these days is kind of saddening, because that means there's really no arcadey sports games. I mean, there probably are, but they're mostly indie. You don't really know about them. Like, there's no, like, big... It's not like what it used to be with NFL Blitz or NBA Jam or NHL Hits or anything like that. Like, the closest you get now is probably either, like, Super Mega Baseball, which a lot of people have never heard of before, or... I don't know. I can't think of much else, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, that one's coming out June 10th. This one was one I know that you're excited about. Chrono Cross Remastered.
What? I've never said anything about liking Chrono at all in this.
I know. That's coming out April 7th. Really? No, you're not going to talk on that one at all?
I mean, apart from the fact that I'm terrified of replaying it because I haven't played that in like 15 years, and I'm afraid that when I do play it, I'm going to start poking so many more holes into it because I'm not a teenager anymore.
Mm-hmm. The cool things that I like about this is, like, this is something I feel that needs to do with a lot of old RPGs. So the Radical Dream Edition, as it's being called, is going to include updates so you can turn off encounters and with an enhanced soundtrack. Turning off that random encounters is going to be such a huge game changer. Like, it's something that I find really, like, hinders traditional RPGs.
And as a nice touch, even though most people probably won't touch it, I love the fact that they included the Radical Dreamers text adventure game in with the package as well. And fun fact, Radical Dreamer is how the Radical is in my name.
Is it really?
Yeah.
We're getting Adam's origin stories here.
So you don't get my punk band, but you at least get my gamer tag origin story.
I prefer the punk band.
Well, you're not getting that, so.
Nintendo also announced Switch Sports, which is basically a new sequel to Wii Sports, which I'm surprised it took us 5 years to get a sequel to Wii Sports.
And can I just say that it was the most pathetic trailer I think I've ever seen in my life? You
think so?
Can somebody explain to me how, after Wii Sports Resort having as many games as it did, after what you said, 6 years?
The Switch has been out for 5 years, so.
Well, I mean, like, how many years has been since between? Actually, let's see. How many years has it been between Wii Sports Resort? Wii Sports Resort was 2009.
Yeah.
So you're
13 years.
So Nintendo, you're telling me that it took you over a decade to make a new sports game, and you came up with 3 copy and pasted games, 1 new one that looks like crap, the soccer game, and 2 copy and pastes of tennis and badminton and volleyball. That's all you could do. That's it?
I mean, I'm looking at it here. I see soccer. Was that part of the Wii Sports?
Nope. That is the only technically new game, because they say, oh, badminton and volleyball, and they look just like tennis.
I mean, they like badminton pretty much plays like tennis, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but
and volleyball is also kind of like tennis.
Yeah. So my question is why are you advertising a new game with what's basically 3 of the originals that everybody loves, which is fine, and then a new game, and then 2 games that are pretty suspiciously like one of the original games? Like, they're like, I know people are acting like, oh man, Wii Sports is back, and look at all this new stuff they did. And I looked at it and went, what new stuff? It looks shiny. That's about it.
I mean, what are you really like? What are they going to do? It's not like they're
more than 6 games, maybe.
I was going to say, it's not like they're going to do Wii Sports like synchronized swimming or rugby or something like that.
No, but they have things like basketball that they had. They had a frisbee throw game. They had boxing. They had golf. Isn't in this, which is amazing to me.
Well, they got the Mario Golf now.
Yeah, but it's not motion controlled the same way.
Is it not?
Well, I don't know.
If they did not do the motion controls for Mario Golf the same way they did Wii Sports, that's a missed opportunity.
I assume that they just did it the same way that they do.
Oh, so I'm looking at the trailer right now, and they do mention that golf will be added in the fall.
Okay, why not just release it in the fall?
I'm going to talk about that in a second.
Oh boy. Well, if their plan is, let's keep adding games, I'm like, guys, it's 6 sports games. You can do more than that. It's not hard. You've had all this time.
They can, but do they need to?
Well, no, because the fans are fickle as shit.
Be at, like,
but as the guy on the outside, I'm like, dude, it's embarrassing. This is why I don't buy a Switch. I literally was offered to buy a Switch off somebody for $250, and I went, no, because I'm going to spend way too much money on nothing.
That's fair. But I mean, like, your grandma's going to see Wii Sports at Walmart and they'll be like, I remember that sport game. That was fun. Like, let's buy that again.
Well, if that was the case, why did the Wii U sell so poorly?
Because it didn't have Wii Sports Resort.
It did. Well, yeah, but it still could play new stuff. And it had, like, the tablet thing that you could play golf on it.
Sorry, I got hit by a commercial.
But no, at the end of the day, like, I don't know, like, I'm sorry I'm poking holes in some. I'm sure there's Nintendo fans listening to this being like, dude, relax, it's just Sports Resort. I'm like, yeah, but this is my problem with Nintendo, is that they pawn this stuff off to you as like new content, and realistically all they did was remaster Wii Sports and then add a couple of copy and pasted games. Like, to me it looks like they've done no work, and they're going to charge you probably $70 for this shit.
So I was going to talk about this, and this was something I was going to save to the end, but I'm going to jump in right now, because one of the things that they did announce was the Mario Kart Deluxe to get 48 new tracks with paid DLC through 2023. By the way, just for full transparency, I'm reading this from IGN by Adam Bankhurst. He wrote, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will soon be getting new tracks via the paid booster course pass. This will add 48 additional courses to the game through 2023. The first of 6 waves, all of which will contain 8 courses, arrives March 18th and includes such classic tracks as Wii Coconut Mall, N64 Choco Mountain, and Tour Tokyo Blur. While the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pack will cost $24.99, it will also be free to all members of Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack. So, Adam, going to your comment about with Nintendo and why they put it out, so few games, I think what Nintendo's doing is absolutely brilliant, and I love it. Because I think what they're doing is this expansion pack pass that we were kind of like ragging on a couple months ago, I think actually has a lot of, I'm starting to see the value of it in that, you have something like Mario Kart 8. That game is pretty much pinnacle, like Mario Kart. I don't know how you're going to change it. And so rather than coming out with another game that's going to be hard to iterate on, they're just adding to it and saying, hey, here's just more content for that game. And I think having this expansion pack where, you have something like Game Pass where it's like, here's the whole game for free, and something like PlayStation where it's like, screw you, give us our money. I think Nintendo's doing an awesome idea where it's like, hey, buy the game, buy the base game, get the game that you need. And then if you want to just buy for this game, you can buy that pack for $24.99. But we have this expansion pack. And what it's going to do is the games that you love, they're going to constantly get drip fed with DLC and content, and you're automatically going to get it. And I think that's what's probably going to happen with this Wii Sports Resort thing as well. Or this Switch Sports or whatever the hell they're calling it. And I think it's going to be one of those where you get the base game, you get that, and then as new content rolls out, if you're part of that expansion pack club, you're going to get that DLC. And I think that's just brilliant, and a way of just, you're getting your loyal fans who are buying most of your games to just have a constant drip feed that they can go in and play without having to do additional purchasing. Thoughts?
Well, I flip-flopped back and forth on this initially because I didn't like the idea of... Initially, I saw this and went, wait, you guys still aren't working on a new Mario Kart? Like, this is already a port of an old game. And then I stopped and went, okay, but they're adding a lot of new courses. And I remind myself that we had a conversation way back on the show about what the hell do you do with Smash now?
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand with some of these games that maybe the better option is to do nothing and just keep adding to it and not having to make your customers spend money. That's perfectly fine. I don't think I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
In this specific case relating to, oh, well, you can either pay this much for it, or if you get the expansion pass that comes with that, I still retain what I've said about the expansion pass is that it is a very, very bad way of doing business right now, and it may be better as it goes on, but I'm still at that point that it's not even remotely close to being there yet. When I saw that they added it to it, I'm like, okay, so maybe this is what they're doing going forward. Maybe in another year or so, I'll look at what's available for the expansion pass and go, okay, you know what? That's actually not bad now. But I still retain that it's not great currently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's their plan going forward, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It just depends on what that looks like. I mean, it doesn't automatically mean that, you know, every game that comes out now is going to suddenly have all this content on expansion pass, because at some point then you're going to have to raise the price of that expansion pass with how much stuff you're putting on it. Because if you're a Nintendo employee, or if you're somebody at the top brass in Nintendo, are you going to really sit there and be like, okay, we can make them either buy this like yearly thing that we have going on that's not that expensive actually in the long run, and we'll throw a bunch of stuff on it that, you know, they'll get in increments, or we're losing money because not everybody's going to take these, and we probably just want to get the big like chunk of money into. I don't know. It goes both ways. I mean, again, as like from a consumer standpoint, if like a year or two down the road you have like 20 games that if you get this one expansion pass, you're getting all this content in constantly for, I guess it's not a bad thing going forward. But I mean, as a business thing, I don't know. It's probably similar into Game Pass where we're looking at it being like, well, where's the money coming from now? But then I remember that they never put games on sale, so that's where the money's coming from.
That's what I was just going to say, is that Nintendo gets that, you know, that theory that, like, you know, Zelda Breath of the Wild is costing as much as it is now as it did 5 years ago. So I think it becomes a situation where you start having this expansion pass. And I'm, once again, speculating. I'm just kind of reading what I see through the tea leaves here. And I see that this is what Nintendo wants to do. Did they communicate it? No. Did they do it properly? No. That's Nintendo's way of doing things. They do it their own way. It's a good idea, but just they Nintendoized it. But I think this is going to be a good option for them that, yeah, you know what? Have a bunch of games with DLC content on there. As it trickles out, people are going to start buying it. If I have 3 to 4 Nintendo games, I'm like, hey, I've got these games that I love and I want more of them. I could buy the DLC content, or I could just play it that way. I could just get this expansion pass and get all those. But guess what? I don't have Animal Crossing, and if I have the expansion pass, I already get the benefit of the Animal Crossing expansion. Why don't I go buy that game as well? And then that's where the trickling comes in. There's a residual income from just having this monthly pass that I have to pay for every year, so that I can keep having access to those games, or I can and then it trickles me to gets me to buy more games. What I'm saying is that the one beauty with the Nintendo Online Pass, I think the expansion, you have to buy it for the year. Or maybe they just advertise it as the year, but it's just, you're getting that constant trickling, and it's also incentivizing people to buy more games. And I think that was, for me, the most exciting thing that came out of the Nintendo Direct, is just what this expansion pass pack thing is going to be. And I think that was really cool.
Yeah. And I mean,
let's just, sorry, do you have anything, or do you want to keep going?
Well, I was going to say two things. I mean, one, it is about $5 a month, or, you know, $64 Canadian, which, you know, if it's a bunch of content going forward, I mean, still right now, the fact that all it's going to get you is some Animal Crossing DLC, potentially some Mario Kart tracks, and some SNES and Genesis games, and by some, I mean like 10 each. It's not worth,
and the N64
it's not worth
games.
The extra. Well, sorry, I meant N64 and Genesis. It's still, to me, it's still not worth it. Like I said earlier, it's going to come down to what else do they throw on it. So we'll see as we go. But to go one last thing here with the Switch Sports, because that's where it started from. I don't care if they're adding stuff to expansion pass for it. If they charge full price for 6 games, that quite honestly could cost them $10 because they're mostly redos, I don't care what they add to it going forward. The fact that they be thinking that you got to pay that much for it, if it's $40, fine. I'll put up with it. But if I find out that Switch Sports is going to be $79.99 Canadian, or even more than that, maybe $89.99, I'm going to come on the show and yell again, because that is a garbage price to be putting for a game that looks like that.
Yeah. No, I think once again it's just Nintendo not being good at communicating their message and what they're envisioning. But I think there's some, and if they're not doing this, please Nintendo, you can have that one for free. Let's get back to the games. So Triangle Strategy gets a free demo that will carry over to the full game. So if you're into, that game,
put it on Steam, please.
Yeah, it's one that never grabbed me, but I know they're like the old. I'm surprised you're not like. That's probably one that you're dying to play that you'd get a Switch for.
It is Final Fantasy Tactics. You bet your ass I want to play that.
They're making remakes of Front Mission and Front Mission 2. I never
actually similar kind of thing. Mechs with Final Fantasy Tactics. I actually played the original through a fan translation way back in the day. Ooh. On a Super Nintendo emulator, and it was actually pretty decent. So
me on the mechs.
I'd be curious about it.
I love mech games. Splatoon 3 getting a new mode. Metroid getting a new mode. The other big thing was Kirby Forgotten Land. They did a pretty big trailer. I kind of watched it and I got a lot of Mario Odyssey vibes, which kind of excited me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my thing because I've never been a big Kirby guy. Even growing up, I didn't like Kirby games very much, but like, it's if everybody else seems to be pretty excited for it that are big fans of that, so that's cool.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a nice way of it's kind of weird how the game looks because it sometimes looks like it's 2D, looks like it's 3D. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting way to see how it plays, whether it's that two-dimensional kind of scrolling or if it's going to be more of an overview land. I think it's both. I think it's great. I'd love to see them go more that Odyssey route because Kirby needs something new, a little bit something fresh. Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings will be added to Nintendo Switch Online today.
I think that's the first time we're ever going to see in North America the original Mother game. Because all we ever got was Earthbound, which I believe is Mother 2. Yeah.
So they're saying Nintendo did reveal that Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings will be releasing on Switch later today. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Advanced One Wars and 2 Reboot Camp launches on April 8th. This is one that I'm kind of excited for, but see if I end up playing it. Did you ever get into the Advanced Wars game?
Probably, but at that point on Game Boy Advance, I was more of a Fire Emblem person, so Advance Wars just never really struck me.
Live Alive will come to the West for the first time in 2022.
That's a pretty crazy story to think about. Like, that's a game, I think it was originally released in Japan in 94 and just never came here. So it's pretty crazy to see that, because it's always a game that I've heard in passing that it was actually like a really cool game, and I don't know if it'll end up being like amazing now that they've obviously remade it and it looks ridiculously good. I love this pixel art. It's this Octopath Traveler looking kind of graphical setup that we see in these games now. It just really pops well. It's just a matter of, whatever this game was back in the day, can it strike a chord now? That's a good question. But I mean, the concept seems cool. It's all these like little stories in these different eras throughout history. So like you can play in the future, play in the way past, play in like the Western era. Like it's some cool, the Wild West. Like it's cool. Like I like that concept. It's just a matter of, hey, does that translate well here? Who knows? It's obviously not a game I'm going to get to play unless it goes on Steam again. But I mean, Octopath eventually came to Steam, so who knows? Maybe I'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah. I'm just going to rapid fire a bunch of like third-party games that are coming out, and then we can kind of talk to them in general. Portal 1 and 2. MLB The Show 22, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, Disney's Speedstorm Racing is coming to Switch, No Man's Sky is coming to Switch, Klonoa, Door to the Phantom Meal.
Klonoa.
Something like that. I don't care. Taiko no Tatsujitsu, once again, don't care. Cuphead.
You don't care about Taiko Drum You ass.
I do not. Is that the Taiko Drum Master thing? Yeah, okay.
Fuck yeah, it is.
I know some people love it. I just never got into it. Cuphead is coming. Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection's coming. Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece for Cloud. Oh god.
Square is amazing at naming games. Oh my god.
I love the Breaks and SD Gundam Battle Alliance coming. Getsu Fuma Den Undying Moon is coming.
All right, hang on. I got. Oh, Getsu Fuma Den. Okay.
Okay, there we go. You know, why am I reading this?
Yeah, why aren't you letting the weeb fucking handle the Japanese?
You know what?
Stuff?
Take it away, sir.
Well, that's the end of the list from what I can see.
Yeah, I probably should have given you that one. Adam, what's the what's the word from the weeb? Which ones are the ones to keep an eye out for?
I actually don't know because I've never played any of them aside from Kingdom Hearts.
Fantastic.
I will say I did have a bit of a snicker moment watching the MLB The Show 22 trailer because it looks so rough. Oh my god. 480p is not kind to that game.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
I felt so bad for Shohei Ohtani. He was trying to sell that game so bad, and his face looks so disfigured in this version.
He's just sitting there thinking think of the hot tub it's buying me. Think of the hot tub it's buying me.
Well, I mean, let me pull up his contract for a moment. I don't think he's crying very much because he's making a fuckload of money. Oh, he's actually not making that much yet. Oh, yeah, he hasn't had a major contract yet. He's making $8.5 million. There's nothing to scoff at. But he's not making those big, $300+ million contracts that the best baseball players get, which is what he's going to get. He is legit, the best player in the game right now. So he's going to be looking at a little bit more than $8.5 million soon. So I don't think he gives a shit what his face looks like on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. This is the problem that Nintendo's going to have, is that some games are going to look great. You need to have games with a certain art style to get on the Switch to make them look good. And these games that are going for hyper realism, you're not going to have that benefit of.
Or you're going to have to go really old, the Ezio collection being on Switch now. We're all good, cool for you. That was on 360.
And it was also on PS4, if I remember.
Well, it's they re-released it, but those games were originally on 360 and PS3. It's good job, Nintendo. You've caught up. And Force Unleashed 2. Who was dying for Force Unleashed on Switch?
Yeah.
Some of these announcements, I'm who asked for this?
Yeah.
Did Nintendo call up X developer and be all right, we need you to test your entire catalog. Tell us what works on our system.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where it's just I understand the situations there and they need games on the system, but who's gone this long that hasn't played Ezio or is hell yeah, I can now play Assassin's Creed 2 on the go.
I almost want to say, guys, for fuck's sakes, just invest in indie because it's what'll work on your system better.
Own that market. It's honestly on
the
console.
Go ham on that shit.
Yeah, because nobody else is really doing it on the console space.
Get Supergiant on the phone and get to work.
Yeah, get Devolver. Just be hey, Devolver, what are you up to? Can we have some games?
And hey, put a couple of those on expansion pass. It might make it worthwhile too.
Awesome. But yeah, no, overall, I think that is a really good, that's a really good show for Nintendo. I mean,
given what they announced, it was pretty good. All things considered, it was no state of play.
Right? Yeah. State of play, take notice. This is much better. So, yeah.
I mean, I still had a lot of holes to pick, but that's also because I'm an asshole and really pissing off Nintendo fans, but I like pissing people off. That's apparently my role in this podcast. You're the good cop, I'm the asshole cop.
I'm the hype man here. That's what I do. Speaking of things to get hyped for, this is coming from Push Square by Robert Ramsey. Microsoft says Call of Duty and Activision games will keep releasing on PlayStation beyond current deals. So I'm going to go just with the article because, long story short, Microsoft came out with a press statement about the rules of open. It was boring to read, so I just went with this article. In a new official blog post, Microsoft has outlined its open app store principles, and it's a pretty boring read. So we'll just skip to the parts that mention Sony and PlayStation. It states, first, some commenters have asked whether we will continue to make popular content like Activision's Call of Duty available on competing platforms like Sony's PlayStation. The obvious concern is that Microsoft could make this title available exclusively on the Xbox console, undermining opportunities for Sony PlayStation users. Yep, this has been a big talking point ever since Microsoft announced its plan to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68 million. $68 billion. It continues. To be clear, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. Once again, this is not a surprise for anybody. I'm interjecting with my own opinion here. So then they go on to say, The article states, "We have committed to Sony that we will also make Activision Blizzard games available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love. We believe this is the right thing for the industry, for games, and for our business." Adam, 2 questions for you. 1, why do you think, like, do you think that this is, why do you think Microsoft is doing this? And 2, like, what's the fine print? Like, do you think that they're going to be day and date? Do you think they're going to be delayed exclusives? What do you think?
Why are they doing this? Because they still have to catch up. That's why they're doing it.
Okay.
That's the starter. They still got work to do before they can catch up to Sony. So anything they can do to not completely alienate, part of the fan base is probably the best option. The other reason, obviously, is because Call of Duty makes so much goddamn money. Why would you ever want to limit it to one scope? Mm-hmm. Like, if Switch could handle Vanguard, they would put it on Switch immediately. If Soulja Boy's console could handle Call of Duty Vanguard, it would be there, because any amount of money you can get out of Call of Duty, you will suck it out of it, because it's just an absolute moneymaker. Like, if somebody bought up Take-Two, you really think they would put Grand Theft Auto Online off of a platform? No. That'd be absolutely ridiculous and a stupid business decision. Which begs the question, well, what does that mean for Elder Scrolls or Fallout or whatever else with Bethesda, which is a bit of a weird gray area. But that's a whole other entire conversation. In terms of, like, what does this mean in the fine print? I guess it depends on how their sales figures are doing. If they feel like, hey, like, we're actually winning this fight a little bit, maybe we don't have to play so nice anymore, I'd start paying attention to that. In the same way that, like, people have already forgotten, because a lot of people like to point out, oh, Sony doesn't play nice with people anymore. Xbox used to not play nice with anyone when they were killing it in the 360 era. So keep in mind that a business only has to be nice when there is an interest in them of getting back to the top, or getting to the top if they've never been there. I fully believe that Xbox is doing what they're doing right now because they have a lot of ground still to make up. Sure, buying some amenities gets the buzz for them, but you got to prove it. And by the way, the 2 companies that they bought weren't exactly in the best shape, so it's not like it really pushed the needle that hard. It's not like they bought Uncharted. It's not like they bought Horizon. They bought Bethesda, who has a really crappy track record, and they bought Activision Blizzard, which people were legitimately boycotting for the next decade if they had to, until that prick gets out of the office. But, if a couple of years down the road, all of a sudden, Xbox Series X or whatever new model they decide to come out with next time, when they decide to confuse us with naming like it's a Kingdom Hearts game, if they end up killing the competition, they don't have to do shit anymore. They can go right back to being like, you know what? Call of Duty, it's ours. We're just gonna make it here because we know you're gonna come to us anyway. But because PlayStation 5 is doing as well, I'd have to see what the numbers are currently. I don't know what PlayStation 5 versus Series X is doing for sales right now, but I would assume PS5 is still on top. I don't know by how much, I don't know by how little, but at this point, Xbox is still feeling like they need to do a lot of work to get themselves back into that number 1 spot, or at the very least in the number one by far of wherever they are, with obviously Game Pass doing what it is. I don't know, like, I think as it stands, anytime I hear, well, we're planning on doing it outside of the agreed time, is code for, we're gonna do it maybe, but we can pull it at any point because we just spent $68 billion on it. We kind of want to do whatever we think is going to make us money. I tend not to really trust whatever corporate speak says about things,
Yeah, I think probably what they're not saying is like day and date, and I don't think that will be a situation where maybe it isn't released day and date. But I think the thing is that we're looking at it from an old school perspective, and I've talked about this before. Xbox really doesn't care if you buy an Xbox anymore. The idea is that they're really looking at registrations of users, right? So they want people to sign up to Game Pass, and that's just to make money. And so if they have a situation where they say, hey, you want to play Call of Duty, it is on Game Pass right now, you can give us $20-$30 and play it for the next month, and then if you like it, you can keep playing it again. Or you can go to PlayStation, you can pay $70, $80, $90, whatever they want to charge, and you can play it there. Either way, Xbox is still getting money. They're still getting money for Call of Duty, but what they're doing is they're presenting a better value for them, saying, hey, if you come to Game Pass, you can get your Call of Duty as well as these other games that maybe you haven't played yet. But if you don't want to, we'll still take your money when you go buy it on PlayStation. So they're hedging their bets in that they're getting money from both sides. Sure, they give a cut to PlayStation, but they've already made the game. They've already put it on Game Pass, and that's probably where most people are going to play it. But for the diehard PlayStation fans who don't have an Xbox, they're not losing that market. They're not losing that customer, right? So I don't think they're going to do a day and date. Like, I think they'll do a day and date because that'll really split up the player base, and then that throws off the whole multiplayer. But that's the thing with Call of Duty as well. That game somewhat survives based on how many people are playing multiplayer. And if you cut out a segment of that group, that then hurts your multiplayer gameplay as well. So I think it's in their best interest, and from a profitability standpoint, for them to have it on both consoles, and they don't care where they get paid from.
Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, I'm not where you stand yet. I'm not quite believing that they don't care about Xbox sales. I think as soon as we see that TV stick become a thing, we know, okay, Game Pass is the focal point. Until then, I mean, you have to make the argument, well, they really want to sell consoles because, I mean, technically they're selling PCs because Windows is their other bread and butter. Like, they're also a PC manufacturer. So Game Pass being on PC is the same thing as Game Pass being on console. They want to sell the consoles. So until we get things like, say, the TV stick or, just being easily available, like, hell, if Game Pass was ever on PlayStation one day, then we truly know that they don't give a crap what their games are on as long as it comes through them. Because in the crazy scenario that PlayStation would ever have a Game Pass app, you could go, yeah, you could play this on PlayStation, but you can also just give us a monthly fee and you can play whatever we got too. And that's just money we get to keep. So it's an interesting way of looking at things. But like, as I said earlier, I don't know anything about what corporate says, because anything that they say can be twisted the next day, because they can change their minds on a freaking dime, especially if shareholders decide to get on the phone and be like, look, I don't like this direction. I can always pull out my money. And they go, oh, crap, we got to do something about it. Or somebody way at the top can go, you know what? I think we need to concentrate more on our business and stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Pull all that stuff, keep it close to us, so that way we are the place. It can change on a dime. Now, contractually, are two different things, but once those contracts end, I think it's fair game. Like, they can say right now that, oh, once the contracts are done, we're still going to do it. That can change the fall. Like, as soon as those contracts end, they could be like, yeah, we're going to do it. And the next day, something changes, and they go, you know what? Screw them. We don't care.
Yeah, I think right now they're also running a line that this is probably not the last purchase that they're going to do, and so they don't want to come out looking super aggressive and somewhat anti-consumer. And I know,
yeah, they do kind of have the FTC on them right now.
Well, not even that, but just like from the court of public opinion, is that if they start gobbling up these studios, at some point people are going to be like, and it'll be mostly the PlayStation fanboys, but like it'll be this conversation of it's a double-edged sword, because I know the PlayStation community has this all the time, and I'm part of that, and people are like, hey, no one ever complains about this when Horizon is exclusive. But there is a look that if they keep gobbling up these studios and taking stuff away from players, it's not like Guerrilla has ever been a public domain sort of publisher.
Yeah, it's not like Killzone was ever on Xbox.
Exactly. So like it looks bad on them if they start gobbling this up and saying, this is ours, we're gonna take it. I think that's
because that was my big thing. Like, I think we probably mentioned when we initially talked about these acquisitions. It's like, look, I don't have a problem if you want to take like a small studio that's never really been a big name. Coming. We're talking Bethesda and Activision, games that have always been available everywhere.
Staples of the third party.
Yeah. It's like, again, like everybody's like, oh, what if somebody buys EA or Ubisoft? I'm like, that's not a good thing.
No.
Because sure, they can say right now, like, if Microsoft, let's say, bought Ubisoft, and they're like, yeah, no, Assassin's Creed, like, look, we talk shit about Assassin's Creed a lot on the show right now, but like, they could say, look, Assassin's Creed, no, it'll be on PlayStation for the next little while, and then all of a sudden they pull it back. That's not cool. You shouldn't want that. Like, an Xbox fan, like, talking to you right now, bud, you shouldn't want that.
Yeah.
You should want as many options as possible. Like, I've said this before, I want Halo on PlayStation. I want Horizon on Switch. I want Mario Galaxy or Mario Odyssey on Xbox.
We don't want Horizon on Switch. That's not going to go well.
I mean,
I know what you're saying.
But you understand what I'm getting. Like, I don't want there to ever be like, it should just be, look, you're choosing whatever console you want because how it looks. Maybe the pricing's a little bit different. Maybe you just like specifically this company a little bit more because some PR story swung you one way or the other. But at the end of the day, like, you shouldn't be sitting there being like, I have to buy 3 consoles in order to play all these games I want. And if, as a guy who doesn't make a lot of money, it feels like crap to know that, like, there's this whole whack of games that I'm never going to get to play because, I can't afford to go that deep.
I think the argument of like when an acquisition makes sense is when it creates or it saves something, right? So if we had a situation where, and we don't know what Activision's situation was, and that's not the case, but if it's a matter of like, hey, this studio's in hot water and they're going to close, and the only way to kind of keep it afloat is, Microsoft comes in and buys them. Great. That was a studio that we were going to lose and you saved it by acquiring it. Having something exclusive is better than having it closed.
I mean, I can give you a great example, like Nintendo with Platinum Games taking the Bayonetta license. Like Bayonetta was a beloved game on PS3 and Xbox 360, and everybody wanted to see a Bayonetta 2, but it was never going to happen because no one was putting the money for it. But Nintendo was like, shit, we'll do it. And sure, it sucks that Bayonetta is now only on Switch, but it's either that or it's nowhere. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, we weren't going to have one until they did that.
Like, that's how it is. The other one,
and that's what I was going to say. The second one was when an exclusive acquisition is made, is that when you have a small studio and you are able to get them to the next level. So either creating something like Deviation Games, or is it Deviant Games? We never figured that out.
Deviant? I don't know.
Whatever.
But like Blue Point, similarly too. Like,
these are small studios that, are now growing and being able to do more by this injection. They are creating something. They're making it grow versus just taking something that's big and just saying we're putting a fence around this. And that's my difference. And the fact that Xbox is not doing this is a more positive step than them just saying, hey, here's the fence. We're not letting this out anymore.
I'll say it right now. If we find a story that says Xbox acquires X studio that I've never heard of for like $2 million, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah, let them grow.
But the second I see $1 billion tag on something, I go, great, here we go again. Like I said it during the Bungie acquisition. Like, look, I don't like this stuff. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have to be this way.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's probably hopefully be the end of that story for a little while, because I feel like that horse is kind of getting kicked to death.
Yeah.
Or I guess the horse is dead and we're just still kicking it. I don't know.
I don't know if there's anything left to kick. I think it's just like a puddle.
It's like a little, yeah, I don't want to talk. Let's not go there. Adam, let's wrap up the show as always with another round of trophy stumpers. So as always, I'm going to give you 10 clues and you're going to try and guess it as soon as you can. You're going to get 10 clues and you're going to guess every 3. And then we'll do 3, 3, and then at 10.
Okay.
Because there's no point in doing it at 9. So you get 3 guesses.
I get 3 strikes. All right.
You get 3 strikes. So let's go. First one is Enemy Within.
Enemy Within?
Yep.
Okay.
Second one, Deja Vu.
Okay.
And the third one is Crippled But Able.
All right. Well, I know it's not XCOM, but it's the only thing coming up right now.
Okay. Next one is and it is not XCOM, just because I'll give you that.
I figured because you let me go on this.
Yeah. Sermons and Moonshine.
Sermons and Moonshine.
Yep.
Okay.
Revolution. And Amazing Grace.
All right. Now I definitely don't have anything right now.
Okay. So we have Deja Vu, Enemy Within, Crippled But Able, Sermons and Moonshine, Revolution, and Amazing Grace.
I got no guess on this one.
Okay. Next is Aus Mercer.
You know, if you're going to give me a trophy, you might want to say how to pronounce it one more time.
Aus Mercer.
Aus Mercer.
Aus Mercer.
Okay.
AUSMERZER.
Okay.
Okay. Gun Nut. Call Me Terror Billy.
Okay.
And Mein Leben.
All right.
So we have Deja Vu, Enemy Within, Crippled But Able, Sermons and Moonshine, Revolution, Amazing Grace, Aus Mercer, Gun Nut, Call Me Terror Billy, and Mein Leben.
The only thing that makes sense would be Wolfenstein. I just don't know which one.
Okay. Let's think it over.
I've never played any of them, so I don't know what some of them might be a reference to.
Well, there's some clues in the trophies.
No, there's not. The clues don't help if I haven't played anything specifically. I mean, the fact that you're leading me on tells me I'm in the right ballpark. I just don't have the right game yet.
I will tell you, it is a Wolfenstein game.
Oh god, there's 3 to choose from.
Yep. Do you know the basic premise of them?
No.
Even a bit.
I know there's 2 games, and then there's one with two sisters that everybody hates. So I'm gonna hope that you didn't do that one.
Okay.
So then it would just be 1 or 2. Do I have to? Okay. Do I have a coin? I'm gonna have to flip a coin on this.
Okay, flip a coin. Let's keeping it real here.
I don't know if I have a coin. I do have an SD card. Okay, I'll do picture side is heads, so 1, and then card side is tails, so 2.
You're gonna lose the card.
Ah! It's on the floor. Well,
what's the official status?
If I get it wrong, it's not my fault because I flipped it wrong. It got heads, so I'm gonna guess just the original Wolfenstein reboot. I can't even remember what the title was. Just Wolfenstein 1 and new. Either was it a New Colossus or something like that.
So which one are we going with?
I'm just gonna say Wolfenstein 1.
Womp womp. You actually said it. It was Wolfenstein: The New Colossus.
Oh, okay.
So the and this is a little hiccup here. So the premise was with the New Colossus is that the Nazis end up invading the United States. That's the big thing of the New Colossus, and so
I vaguely remember that trailer.
Yeah. So the hints that I was trying to get you was like the sermons in Moonshine, Revolution, Amazing Grace. That was kind of what I was trying to get you towards the U.S.
I see.
Yeah, and then the last part was all about just getting into Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh well.
I mean, technically, I was there. It's just
even said the name. You even said that
because I didn't. Actually, what even is the name of the original game?
Isn't it called the old? No, the Old Blood is the DLC.
Oh, so there's 3 games. Never.
Oh no, there's the Old Blood. It's the Old Blood. Is it the Old Blood? I think it's the Old Blood.
Oh god,
I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, so it's Wolfenstein. The New Order is the
New
reboot.
Order. Okay.
Old Blood is the DLC, which is really good. And then there's the New Colossus.
And then we don't talk about Youngblood.
And then we don't talk about Youngblood.
Okay.
Did you never play the new Wolfenstein games?
I think I might have played like the New Order like vaguely on PC and then just didn't get too into it. I never really even played Wolfenstein much like growing up. Like I might have played like Wolfenstein 3D a couple of times like at a friend's house, but I never outright owned it. I think we had Return to Castle Wolfenstein on Xbox, but I didn't particularly like it that much. So I've never really given it a bit of a crack. So, and then obviously hearing how bad Youngblood was didn't really give me any urge to go back now. So weirdly enough, like a lot of these kind of games don't sit well with me. Like even the new Doom games I haven't been too big on actually, which is surprising for me. Yeah. I was really surprised.
The new Doom game is amazing.
I think it's just because like the expectations of how fast you got to move. Like I'm more of a strategic guy. Like I've always played like the slow and calculated route. Doesn't really work with Doom.
Dude, honestly, Doom 2016 is like the best metal soundtrack of all time.
Oh, I'm not denying
that comes with a free game.
Like even the bit that I played, like I didn't hate it. I just went like I have no like honest urge to really push through it. Like it wasn't clicking.
Dude, honestly, the best way I describe like Dune 2016 is like it's a symphony of death, and you are the orchestra, or you're the conductor, and it's just I love that game. Like you get in there and you start getting the blood flowing as you start. It's just that soundtrack just complements it so well. Oh, I didn't like the new like I forget what the hell it's called, Doom 2 or whatever it was, the sequel. Doom Eternal. Yeah, I did not like Doom Eternal because I felt like it had a lot of problems that broke that flow. But that original 2016 Doom just has a flow to it that when the like soundtracks go and you just kind of, it does it in a way where you zone out and you are just get that hyper focused moment where you're just going through and just methodically mowing everything down. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why a lot of people got into it. And like I said, like I got it, played it, and went, this isn't bad, but like the one time I played it for maybe like 2 hours, did a little bit of stuff in there. And then put it down to do something else, and I never had an urge to go back. And I can't really say why specifically. It just whatever it wasn't leading me to go further.
I could see that because I did that same thing too, where I played it for I played the demo or something like that, and that first level or two does not lend itself, like it doesn't show off the game. Like you have to go in a couple hours and then it picks up, because at first you only get like a pistol and a shotgun, and it's kind of bland, but as you start getting more weapons and more choices, it gets really fast and it gets really fun. So yeah, if you didn't hook you in the first 2 hours, I totally get it, and I would recommend, going in a little bit deeper.
All right, well, I'll put that in front of Cyberpunk then.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, I'd say Doom 2016 is better than Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay. Well, you heard it here first.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me on that one.
No, there's probably one guy listening to be like, Kaylan, you traitor.
They're both good games, but I would definitely say that Doom 2016 is more fun. But with that, Adam, let's wrap it up here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking with us. If you like what you hear, we'd greatly appreciate if you leave us a review, leave a comment, leave a like wherever you're getting this podcast. We'd just like to hear that you're enjoying the show. We do this for you guys. So if this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope it was good for you. Certainly good for us. If you're one of our regulars, thank you so much for being with us. We love interacting with you guys in the Discord. So if you are listening to this and you're not part of the Discord, where are you? Because you're not with us, and that's where you should be. So feel free to join us wherever. Join us in the Discord. Links should be in the description. And you can also find it on our link tree, which is Linktree Pixelplay. Yeah, and if you want to interact with us on social media, like I said, pixelplaycast on Twitter and Instagram, and we're on that's where you can find us if you want to interact. If you want to send us questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. And with that, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Bye for now.